Chairman Wiggum, Vice Chair John, Ranking Member Kelly, and members of the committee. Thank you for allowing me to present my personal testimony here. My name is Robert McCarthy. I reside in Wayne County, up there with the chairman. And so I'd like to start by asking a question, which I think a lot of people are asking themselves: why a convention of states? My answer is, why not a convention of states? As a town councilman for over 10 years, I've taken upon myself to study our nation's history and the intent of our founding fathers, and I'm astounded at how far our nation has strayed from that intent. All one has to do to realize this fact is to look at Article 1, Section 8 of our U.S. Constitution that lists the responsibilities of the federal government. Very few and limited. And then read the 10th Amendment. Quote, "The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, not prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people." The current federal government is anything but limited, and especially in these last 11 months, we have seen it encroaching into every area of our lives, from how we worship to what we put in our bodies. The greatest fear of our founders was a runaway federal government, as opposed to the fear of a runaway convention. Their premise being an understanding of human nature, as seen in James Madison's famous quote, "If men were angels, no government would be necessary. And if angels were to govern men, neither external nor internal controls on government would be necessary." Therefore, they implemented various checks and balances in our Constitution, along with separation of powers between the three branches, the lines of which unfortunately have been blurred over time by the avarice of men. The last check put in place by the founders is Article 5, which Colonel George Mason of Virginia insisted be put in place before he would sign the Constitution, as a protection for the states from a central government that he feared would become too powerful. In the end, he still did not sign, for as James Madison explained, quote, "No amendments of the proper kind would ever be obtained by the people if the government should become oppressive, as he, Mason, verily believed would be the case." Just as our founding fathers pursued every legal route they could to protect their rights as English citizens from the repeated abuses of power by the king before the American Revolution, so it behooves us to do the same now to protect the rights of the citizens of these United States by following the legal route given us by them, Article 5. Remember, our Constitution has worked well for us over the last 234 years. Considering that the average length of a Constitution globally since 1787 is 17 years, I would say they did something right. So why not give the legal safety valve they included for the protection of we the people a try? In the words of President Ronald Reagan during the last national debate over a convention of states, if not when? If not now, when? If not us, who? The national debt was $3 trillion then. And now? And in response to the fear of a runaway convention of states, let's look at the mandate for the last and only convention. After time, it became apparent that the Articles of Confederation drawn up in 1777 as the foundation document for the newly formed United States gave very little power to the central government to regulate its domestic affairs. Therefore, the existing Confederation of States finally convinced the Continental Congress in February 1787 to call for a convention of delegates to meet in May in Philadelphia. Quote, to devise such further provisions as shall appear to them necessary to render the Constitution of the federal government adequate to the exigencies of the Union. So we see that it was not a runaway convention at all, but rather one that clearly followed the mandate of the states which called for it.